record this also. Another episode of our monthly event, which ICF members in Pakistan organize on a monthly basis. We do speaker sessions and we also do panel discussions. This is one other panel discussion that we are doing this time. And today, I'll be hosting the session, and with me, I will be asking some questions with our two of the very uh, established and I must say very experienced coaches. Fakiha and Mukhtar Saab both have been into the coaching fraternity for quite some time, and I must say they are one of the earliest coaches in Pakistan who have done ICF certifications. So before we go ahead, and before I introduce both Fakia and Bakhtiar Saab, uh, the idea behind all these programs that we do is to introduce ICF coaching in Pakistan, and coaching as an industry is a new one, and in Pakistan especially. But around the world, it is a very well-known process, very well-known industry, and something which organizations and corporate organizations do a lot. Just a quick feed on few of the statistics that I could come up with from ICF. Um, the ICF research shows that there are 87% of the organization report a higher ROI from executive coaching. And the return on that investment comes out to around 7 times of what you invest into the coaching. 99% of the clients report satisfaction, and 96% would go through the process again with their coaches. Then there is about good data about how the respondents give a feed. 72% of the respondent of one of the survey that ICF conducted, in fact, say that because of the coaching, the employee engagement enhanced, and the positive engagement within their staff and in their leadership teams that increase. So I will come and I'll come again to a few of these further statistics during the program. But just to begin with, let me quickly introduce both of our panelists. Fakia, who is currently based in Karachi, and she has about 25 years plus experience in individual and organization transformations. She has, in addition to her ICF PCC qualification, PCC is Professional Certified Coach, which is a rigorous process and that ICF introduces. And you have to go through a number of hours of training programs, of coaching hours, and then you get the PCC. She also is an NLP practitioner, a consultant for EQI 2.0, which is a psychometric tool for MHS. So there's a lot more about Fakiha, but it's just a quick introduction about her. Then Mr. Bakhtiar Khwaja, who is, I must say, his coaching experience is only 20 years, but behind that, there is about 30 or plus years of corporate experience. He has served with banks. He has served in Egypt, in UK, in Colombia, in Hong Kong, and of course in Pakistan. And he is also a PCC, Professional Certified Coach with ICF. And I have seen him for many years now, like this as he is today. So welcome both to this panel discussion that we are having today. And to begin with, let me ask you a quick question. The first one. Uh,
Hmm.
How do you see both of you? I mean, let me put this question first to Bakhtiar Saab. Uh, how do you see corporate coaching in Pakistan? And just give us a quick thought about corporate coaching, and then we'll take the discussion forward. Sir.
Yeah, well, corporate coaching is alive and kicking in Pakistan. I think start off with it is the corporate sector which adopted coaching as as a bona fide developmental tool. Sorry. So when I started coaching, I having a lot of corporate experience at my back, I naturally uh, gravitated towards executive coaching. So I got a good response, and I know now that other types of coaching, now life coaching is coming up. Now, health and wellness coaching is many people are doing a great job there. But the executive coaching is where the whole thing started in Pakistan. Reasons were two. Firstly, um, HR departments in the corporate sector are well versed, well knowledgeable about the benefits of coaching, and especially the multinationals. They already did a lot of coaching when we started, and they continue to do so. Although now their major portion of their coaching is done by external coaches outside of Pakistan because they have long-term relationships with some companies. Having said that, there are now private sector um, corporate entities, small and medium, also are coming into coaching. I've done about two engagements with small and medium, and they are quite keen on coaching. And once they see good results, they will continue with it. So it's doing pretty well, Umar. But however, there are a lot more organizations who've not yet been introduced to coaching. And Fakia in Karachi, there's a lot of scope. I'm sure you're doing your part of the job. Coaching is going to increase in Pakistan. Yeah.
Mm. Yes, we'll move to Fakia. Your take on this? How do you see corporate coaching and coaching in itself moving ahead, especially in Pakistan, of course, and Karachi, of course, we understand it's a big market. So, what is your experience on that?
Thank you, Umar, for the opportunity, and I'm so happy to see such familiar faces around. And I will build on what Bakhtiar Saab has said. So my love affair with coaching started in 2012, and at that time I remember even myself, till I went for my certification and all that, I myself had very blurry lines with regards to coaching, counseling, mentoring, and all that stuff. And when I did my certification, and then when I started going out to the corporate, even at that time it was kind of an alien subject, though there were some MNCs which were kind of familiar or were engaged in it. Having said that, we have come a long way. Yes, there is still a lot of potential, and if we talk about Karachi market especially, I mean, of course, I do assignments in other outside Karachi as well. But then Karachi is a bigger hub when it comes to the corporate. And in the last few years, especially if we talk about in last 5 6 years, that awareness has grown tremendously. And as Bakhtiar Sahab has said, it is not only the MNCs. MNCs definitely, because they have they have bigger networks, they are more kind of exposure in terms of exposure and all that. But even if we talk about local companies, if we talk about small and medium ones, so yes, that thing, that the coaching awareness has gone up.
Mm.
And yes, another thing is, now when so there is a word of mouth as well. So when people have seen that there are some organizations which are engaged in it, and they've seen the benefits of it, and that's how the word kind of travels as well. Hence, in last 4 5 years, this awareness about coaching and the demand for coaching, especially, I mean, if I talk about Karachi, that has definitely grown.
Mm. No, that's exactly, yeah.
Well, Umar, let me
Yeah,
add here.
yeah.
Akia, you reminded me. One of my assignments on executive coaching was in Karachi. An organization who wanted short period coaching, one-on-one, face to face, with about 50 of their executives. So I
Mm.
had to weigh the pros and cons, but I did do that. I had to
Mm,
stay in Karachi for about 10 days to complete
mm,
that assignment.
mm,
Very satisfying.
mm,
They were good people, hardworking, and it was perhaps one of their first introductions to one-on-one. Otherwise, they went to training and all. So
mm,
they were quite happy as well.
mm. No, that brings us to a very good point, in fact. As we're talking about the coaching, corporate coaching, involving people, Bakhtar sir, since you have a lot of experience in executive coaching and involving lots of corporate clients, uh, what do you think? Who should be involved in contracting and goal setting process? This is very important. I mean, a coaching exercise, a process will only be successful if it's the goal is set properly and the contracting is done well. So, what do you think? Who should be contracted for that? The coach, the coachee, uh, the HR manager, the line manager, the head of the organization, the owner. I mean, what do you? How do you take this?
I think we have to start it off. The whole process would start usually from HR or OD, whichever department is asked to organize coaching. So
Okay.
they will find some coaches, shortlist them, and then take the matter to the senior management for approvals and so on. And they would have discussion with the coach, the basic information, and then approvals. And then the coachee gets involved. Now, there are various practices, Umar. It is recommended now that the coachee be offered a choice between two or three coaches if they are available there.
Mm,
So they will have short meetings, chemistry sessions, and so on. And the coachee gets to select one of them with whom they have, they find they are suitable. And then comes the contracting part. Um, the contract usually is the coach who has an organized format which is presented to the organization for, if there are any changes from their side which are needed.
mm,
The contract is to be signed by HR, of course, but before that, the boss of the coachee, the intended coachee, the supervising officer, does get involved. I prefer that I have a meeting with him or her so that why coaching is being called for, that is something to be also understood. And
mm,
of course, you're not just relying on the feedback given by them. There are multiple things that you do before that. However, the contract is signed with the HR, and then comes the difficult question of confidentiality. Can the organization ask you to share what goes on in the meetings and so on, which
mm,
all of us know that you say, sorry, in the contract it is listed. It's confidential between the coach and the coachee.
mm,
And the organization does get feedback in general terms, periodically or at the end of coaching, in general terms, how the coaching went and was the coachee sufficiently interested and committed to the process. That's all the feedback that the organization can expect.
mm, mm,
And then sometimes the HR wants to get involved with the goal setting process. And if the coachee permits, that can also happen. That goals are discussed first between the coach and the coachee, and then, with the coachee's permission, the HR is also gotten involved in this. So that's the way I do it. And anything I left out, Umar? Does that
No, I
answer your
think you,
question?
you have covered it well. I mean, the important part that you have said, I'll come to Fakia also with the same question. But the one thing that you have mentioned very rightly is the confidentiality part, uh,
Mhm.
and we would like to dwell further on that. But the what ICF coaching does is that we go through a very rigorous process of training, and there are 8 core competencies in ICF coaching setup. And the first one, in fact, is
Mhm.
demonstration of ethical practice. So I think once you are referring to the confidentiality part, is it the same with the ethical part that that ICF does, the demonstration of ethical practices?
Yeah. Now, this is something which we all have imbibed from general practice, but we know that ICF demands that we have signed the code of ethics before we got the credential, and it is to be done. So mainly there are two things: confidentiality and being careful about conflict of interest. So these two things have to be high on our priority list to make sure that it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Now, let me just elaborate a little bit. When I was head of HR with the bank, um, I attended many conferences and so on. And the question is raised when you are a head of HR, who is your client? Is it the organization which has put you on that pedestal to run the show, or it is the employee? My belief always has been it's the employee who is our real customer, who is the client of HR. But of course, you have to keep in mind that the organization is also a major stakeholder, and you have to be a balancing factor between the two. So if the employee is the real client in HR, then in coaching, the coachee is the real client. So that's why I wanted to draw a parallel between the two.
No, that's a fine balancing act that corporate coaches and executive coaches have to do. Yeah, Fakia, what is your take on this process?
Okay, so a couple of things. The first thing, when we talk about confidentiality, I think so. One of the reasons why coaching is very, very effective is because of the safe space kind of thing. Where people could be vulnerable, people could discuss things. So confidentiality is actually the foundation on which the entire thing is kind of, the entire edifice is there. So that is definitely, very, very important. So when it comes to contracting, the other question which you asked is the goal setting. So I would separate it too in a little different way. When it comes to contracting, that is with regards to, your organization or you with an organization and getting into a relationship. So that's a process which is there. What I usually do is in that process, yes, I would definitely have a meeting, to explore that why the need is there. I would have a meeting with the line manager as well. And in that, meeting, yes, of course, the expectations or whatever, out of the entire experience they have, we would discuss that. But once the contracting part is done, and even before actually getting into the coaching relationship, one of the things which is very essential for me, in my part of the process, I would have a pre-coaching meeting with the person as well. Because the organization maybe, you see that there are key stakeholders over here is the organization, the coachee himself or herself, and then there is a coach as well, or maybe the line manager there too. Now, the thing is that if the organization is on board, if the line manager is on board, and the coach is very, very, kind of committed to the entire process, but the main person for whom this whole exercise is being designed, what is the willingness level of that person? So I usually do not, for me, the pre-coaching meeting is part of the contracting process. I would not engage in a relationship without having that, because that's where you establish willingness and all. So once the contracting is done, okay, and another thing is the confidentiality. So that is also a part of it. So when I have my discussions with the line manager as well as with HR, and it's very important to have very clear lines over there that yes, there will be reporting. Yes, there will be with regards to the progress mapping and the progress tracking. However, the discussion which is happening between the coach and the coachee is extremely confidential. And the people need to know that before it. They can't ask, like for that discussion or, like some main points on it. Like I usually, when I go into the goal setting process, I do, usually start with the psychometric as well. Even the psychometric report, is the coachee willing to share or does not want to share? So these are the things which I discuss in the contracting process. So once I get into the goal setting, now goal setting, yes, you would share at that time all the data or all that input which you have collected from the other stakeholders. You will put it out to the coachee as well. But the goal setting, end of the day, it is the main driver over there is the coachee. Because he or she is the one who's going to strive for it, get out of the comfort zone for that, So that willingness and that it has to come from within. So yes, I do discuss that. I made at times I take the appraisal as well. If they have some kind of PDA or maybe some DISC or some kind of psychometric assessments over there, I usually ask for that too. So yes, and that makes the baseline. On that baseline, and this is where the skill of the coach comes into play, that on that baseline, how you create that kind of environment where you align the organizational objectives along with what the coachee also wants.
No,
So this is where we go with usually three.
good.
This is where we
Yeah,
usually go with
let
three.
me add a little bit, Parkia. Coaching would never be successful if it is not confidential, because as we know, that when you get together with the coachee and you start asking questions, if the coachee is not say 100% sure that what he's going to talk about is going to be confidential, he or she will not open up. And without that opening up, our job doesn't really begin without it. You talked about confidentiality, and you talked about also not involving anybody else with what goes on between you and the coachee. However, as we know, there are exceptions under the law. If there is some serious damage going to be done to the coachee or to anybody else, then you have a liability. You have a responsibility to share that. However, in my experience, there was one client, one coachee. I had a contract with an organization. They assigned 5 of their executives for coaching. One of them had want to go into. He came half an hour late for the first meeting. Next meeting, he totally missed. Third meeting, he just called that I'm on the way, came late. And the fourth meeting, he didn't turn up. Now, what does one do? I waited for 4 times. Then I got in touch with the HR and told him this is going on and I can't continue. I can't help this client. Please do something else with him. So this is where I had to break that confidentiality. It was in the interest of the organization and also of the coachee. So it was very strange. It happened to me only once.
No, that's a very interesting experience that Bakhtiar Sahib you have shared. I mean, it does not it does not show that the coach is failed, but perhaps the coaching relationship is not working very well amongst the coachee and the client
True.
and that's what we as coaches should also understand, that of course we are as a coach are not responsible for lots of other things. I mean, we have to
Yeah.
admit the fact that yes, we may also somehow may not be 100% all the time. By the way, just give you all the participants who are there, they can also ask questions by putting their
Yeah.
question in the chat box. There is one question put by Khadija, and I think that's an extension of whatever we were discussing. Khadija,
Let me just elaborate a little more before you go on to the other question.
please
Have
go
you
ahead.
finished, Oman?
Yeah, please go ahead. Go ahead.
This particular assignment I remember very distinctly because it was one of the best coaching engagements I did. Out of the 5, 4 really underwent transformation. Their lives changed. One didn't. And although we did the whole thing very well, I was in touch with the CEO and I asked him how he can help. And he asked me, how can I help? So I said, why don't you send an email to all 5 of them, indicating that this is an important exercise. We believe in you. We trust you. We want your betterment. And please give sufficient time and attention to this assignment. There was a nice email to all 5. But this one, later on, the HR shared with me. He does that with trainings also. He didn't go. He was, uh, you know, he was assigned the training and didn't go to that. So it was a strange kind of a situation. Yes, you're right. The coaching didn't work out, but we tried our best. The organization did, and I did as well. And
Sure.
later on, I found out after about 6 months that man left the organization.
Oh, great, great.
So it was
But
asked to me.
What Khadija is asking
Yeah.
is just let me admit one more. When we coach multiple people in organizations and they want specific feedback on certain people, and they are the ones paying you, how do we navigate this pressure put on us? I mean, this is an extension of whatever we are discussing, that of about confidentiality. So in essence, what Khatija is asking is that the client is paying us, they want to know some feedback about people. So how do you navigate about this? Fakia, your take on that?
I think this is a very valid question. I was just reading that, in the window. So this happens, and it's fair because organization is a very major stakeholder. Organization is actually, kind of sponsoring the entire initiative as well. So again, it goes back to the contracting, that in contracting, what I usually do is we have this discussion that how many sessions we have and how many meetings are we going to have, I mean, so is there going to be a midway meeting, for example, if there are 9 sessions, so after fifth session, there is going to be a meeting with the line manager in terms of sharing an update. And then there is going to be a coaching report at the end of the session.
Hmm.
So yes, and this is the same understanding which is being shared with the coachee as well. So what I usually do is I have certain templates with me as well. So when I go with the feedback and all, I would even after the fifth or the sixth session. So I do share with the coachee that okay, I am due to meet the line manager, and we are supposed to kind of give a feedback on that. And this is where these are the celebration points, and these are the struggles, and this is how we're going to go out. So that the disclosure is, of course, is there, but at the same time there is a level of permission, and permission is important. So when it comes to coaching report as well, so the template which I use for my coaching report, there are few slides which are basically about coach's perspective, and the coachee fills it out. And then there is a strong account which goes from the coach with the recommendation and with the maintenance mechanism and all that.
Hmm.
So I would first ask the coachee to pick, to make that report, and then I would, finalize it. I'll add my bit to it, put it together, and then I will ask the coaching to read the entire report, give me a written consent before sending it to the HR or the line. But again, there is a point. So a lot of times when I do coaching, I'm doing coaching maybe, with the C-suite and the senior people, and maybe the contracting is done through the HR, but it is again in contracting, it is clear that the report would go only to the line manager, not to the HR. Because the people in the HR are much, like, I mean, so there are hierarchies which you have to maintain as well,
Hmm.
which is fine. So all these things, when it is discussed way beforehand, it's usually kind of, I don't think so. It creates any kind of confusion. So there is always reporting, but the level of permission is always there. So when I share the report with the line manager, I do write in there that the consent is being taken. Hence, the report is here. Another thing which I would like to say over here, one of the questions which you all talk about, one of the competencies is about ethics and all. And there is a question here, I think so. I
Aisha,
just
Aisha,
saw that question a little while back. I think Aisha asked
Aisha
that with
is
regards to the conversation if the coach
asking.
is not following through the
Person who
discipline
is
and all
showing
that.
and the person who is showing resistance. I mean, that's conversation between.
Yes, yes, yes. So that, and I think so that's a very good question, and that is very right too, because when it comes to ethics, uh, one of the discussions which we have in our, in the expectation setting or the alignment meeting with the coachee is how long this relationship would go and what are the terms for this relationship to kind of continue at any given time. If there is, that lack of commitment, or maybe we think that we are not the better fit, and that's what ethics is all about, we need to part ways, and the coachee needs to be aware of it,
Hmm.
and that's how it goes.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
one.
let me ask
Yeah,
Khadija, what specific information you were referring to? Specific feedback, I mean.
from Khadija. Yeah, we'll go to
Yeah.
that. There's a couple more questions also in the chat box, but we'll come to that. However, taking on from the same.
Aisha asked me a question about this, whether this should have been raised with the person. Absolutely,
Hmm.
yes.
Hmm.
I tried my best. And the person was always making excuses.
Hmm.
I had to take my wife to the hospital and so on and so forth. And
Hmm.
when it happened on 4 days, 4 sessions, I had to go back to HR.
So one more thing coming out from the same discussion, if let's say coaching relationship is not working, what the organization should do. The coaching relationship, by coaching relationship, I do not mean the coach and the client relationship, but the whole coaching exercise is not going well within the organization. What is your experience that how have you changed the relationship, or is there something like that also, that you change the relationship or you discuss it with the CEO or the coachee? Bakhtiar sir, what do you suggest on that?
No, I don't understand the question. You said that the whole coaching exercise, multiple coaches, is not going well. The organization, how does it find out that it's not going well? Because
The
they're
yeah
not
the,
being
the
given any feedback
yeah
in the middle.
the idea is that if the coaching
All
relationship
the
between the coach
huh.
and client is not working well, so should the
Okay, and the
organization
coachee
change
has
the coach, or they should enter into the scheme and check what is wrong with the client, in fact, or the coachee?
no, but what I now gather is the coachee has always got the option of going to their superiors, going to the CEO,
Okay.
that it's not going well, I'm not gaining much, so I want out, for example. And that's a possibility. And then the organization will have a discussion with the coach. And then if it's not going well, they'll either terminate the relationship with that particular coachee or maybe the whole exercise.
Okay. Okay, now let's move towards another idea. I mean, Fakir has talked about some tools. Fakir, would you give us some understanding about what tools or assessments you have used? I mean, anything which any upcoming coaches could utilize also, or what is your expertise on that or experience in your past coaching
Sure.
tips?
So I do use a lot of tools. And one of the things with, I believe, see, what is coaching about? It is about solutions and it is about moving forward and all. So one of the things, number one is I usually start with the proper baseline, which is very important for me. So I would use either a psychometric if the organization. So I use EQ a lot of times, but then there are some organization if they have done maybe some one of their own psychometrics, then I usually take that on. But there has to be, because you see, line manager, and even if you talk about appraisal, I understand the intention would always be right, but there would always be a very strong human bias over there. And even the coachee can challenge that bias as well. So the psychometric takes that, that bias out of the equation. So I do that, I mean, especially while the baseline for me. And then during the coaching sessions, one of the things which is very important is again, like, I mean, for different goals which we have set, now we have to start moving towards those goals. So yes, there will be tools, there will be different concepts. If it is talk about leadership, then I would ask them to maybe do different researches as well, or I'll share a tool and ask them to share, to kind of explore a tool and then kind of contextualize that tool in their own environment as well. For example, I'll very recently, last week, I was talking to one of the leaders, and one of the goals was about leadership quotient, to kind of enriching my leadership bandwidth, knowledge, as well as my experience. So, with what I do with him every time, I said, okay, fine. So we would explore different tools. Like last, I remember we were talking about Daniel Goleman's 6 leadership styles. So it is not a teaching assignment or a training assignment where I have to kind of, open the concept and discuss it. So yes, we will talk a little bit about it. And one of the action plans of the coaching would be where he is going to explore it. And then he is going to, once we sit down on the discussion and he's clear with what the framework is, then we talk about, okay, how does that framework apply in your situation? And how can that benefit you? What are the pain points for us? So different tools actually really, and one of the things I think, so in the feedback, uh, what I've been receiving perhaps with is like where people usually appreciate when you discuss different concepts, when you discuss different tools and all. And they, end of the day, they want something solid in their hand when they go out, and they could kind of, like all that exercise which they have done, they could kind of actually be practically implemented and use it as well. So
Mm.
yes, I do a lot of exercises in that.
That's
And there's a
that's
variety of tools.
yeah. There would be, of course. I was going through a research by ICF, in fact, very recently published by them. About 90% of the HR people think that there should be an integration between their expertise and the coaching. I mean, they should have good coaching skills also. Stemming out of this, Bakhtiar Saab, since you have a lot of experience with locals and multinational organizations, what do you see? Is there any appetite in local organizations for coaching, or and is it increasing recently, or it is only for multinationals, or locals are also coming towards this? What is your experience on that? Sir, your mic is mute. Yeah, please.
Primarily, it is coming from large organizations, especially MNCs. But
Mm,
as I said, in my experience, I have done two assignments with local organizations.
mm,
Which was SMEs, it was a sugar mill, medium-sized, and they asked for two of their people from their factory.
mm,
And it is there, it is growing, but not as much as the large organizations. So there is less appetite. But I would really be looking forward to a stage where people want to spend their own money and get coaching done.
mm,
So that is still not in vogue. Uh, Corporate coaching is mostly sponsored.
mm,
There's only one instance where I coached a lady, but who spent her own money, but she wanted to leave the organization and was looking for ways what to do about it. So that's probably why she paid it herself.
mm,
And she ultimately left and started her own business. It was good.
mm, mm.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. In fact, I mean, I coach a lot of people for career basically, and they are still in the organization, and they feel that we want to do something, and this organization is not helping us to grow. There's a
Mm.
quick question basically, and I think both of you can comment on this. It's by Yasser. In your experience, what is the general timeline you propose for an executive coaching assignment? 3 months, 6 months, or a year? What do you say? Bakhtiar Sahab, since you are on this, so then
Yeah,
I'll go to
sure.
Fakia also.
It's not a
Okay.
number of months. I work with number of sessions.
Okay.
And an executive coaching assignments, my usual practice is to offer 12 sessions.
Mm,
And my usual preference is one session a week.
mm,
Organizations sometimes want one session in 2 weeks, uh, but my contention is coaching, when it's a multiple session coaching, it is a process which goes on, gradually moves towards completion. And if you put a lot of distance between two sessions, the last session achievements may be forgotten
mm,
or may be pressed under the whole lot of responsibilities that our clients have. So
mm.
my preference is we do one a week, same day, same time. That's what my preference is. But of course, the organization's preference and the coach's own suitability, of course, has to be kept in mind.
Yeah, I think you covered it pretty well.
But
Yeah, what? Yeah.
having said that, even when we agree one a week, there are so many times that the coachee is not available. They are traveling, they are busy, and so on.
Mm,
So
mm,
instead of 3 months, it goes on to 4 or 5 months. That's Yasser, you wanted to know that, right?
mm. Yeah, Fakia, how do you do that?
Yes, so I think Bakhtiar Sahib is really right in
I think your voice is glitching. Your voice is not coming clearly.
but yeah, within 20 days there will be this. So that's what I usually do. And usually, again, it is a kind of discussion that you have with the chief in terms of how often is the reasonable between the two sessions.
Okay. So thank you very much. I just for 1 minute I lost the connection. So I think the question was answered. Coming back to
Okay.
coming back to the earlier
I
thing that we were
like your confidence there.
can you hear me properly? Can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yes, we can, but we lost you for a second
Yeah,
again. Yeah.
Yes.
but I'm happy that the conversation was still going on, even if I was out of the room for a while. But coming back to this thing where we were discussing about the local organizations, do you think there are cultural and structural challenges that organizations face, because of which there is less appetite in local organizations? Uh, and as a supplementary question to this or an idea to this, do you think internal development of internal coaches will help the organizations? And there should be a setup for that, Bakhtiar sir?
Yeah, there are cultural factors which are hindering the coaching as a practice to continue. Partly because especially the local organization, the owners or the top management may or may not be aware of the benefits of coaching. Perhaps they have come up to accepting training as a developmental tool, but coaching they haven't yet looked at seriously, or we've not been able to explain to them the benefits. Secondly, coaching is slightly more expensive than training. And the smaller organizations, especially Pakistani organizations, are a little wary of spending too much. They think it's an expense which doesn't bring back fruit. We try to tell them, Fakir, that this brings in multiple benefits. But so far it's not, we haven't won that battle. There are two questions I can see on the chat.
Yeah,
Amna wanted to
yeah,
know.
I'll come to that.
Yeah,
I'll come to that, Mustafa. But the
okay,
other
okay,
question
sorry.
that I wanted to put to Fakia also was the second part. Should the organization develop internal coaches, and how viable do you think it is?
So recently, I've been engaged into such assignments. There has been, I mean, if you talk about big companies, they have a very big number of employees as well. So for them, engaging external coaches is a very big expensive. So they want to. And then lately, if you have seen in last 4 or 5 years, a lot of organizations, especially the banks as well. I mean, we talk about the bigger ones. They have started their own mentoring initiatives as well. So I've been engaged with a few companies where they, where we conduct training as well. But then again, what is very important, and this is what I do in these sessions, that we need to understand, we need to get the right word over there. You cannot expect them to get trained into the coaching discipline and be claimed as a coach. Yeah, they can be mentored, and there could be a structuring mentoring, because mentoring is usually very fluid, but this could be a structuring mentoring, or it is like a navigator who's there. And so there has been a lot of these sessions lately. Having said, so that clarity has to be there. And at the same time, there are some organizations where I've seen that they have asked from people from their HR who have kind of done certifications as well. But again, why would they come back to a professional coach? The thing is that an external coach, Umar, if I'm working in the organization and you're an external coach, you will always have an advantage. Reason being, when you are having a discussion, one, you yourself are not bringing any agenda, and the person who's having a discussion with you does not having bias and agenda as well.
Hmm.
Whereas with the coaches who are from the organization, that becomes one of the most difficult walls to kind of climb. Okay, so there is another thing which people are organization, internationally and some here also exploring, where they have couple of coaches just, or maybe one or two of their people or resident coaches which are only for coaching, but they then don't do anything else.
Hmm.
Because otherwise, if they become HR and then they are making, they have some kind of contribution in or input in your appraisals as well, this is where it becomes a little conflicting.
But you see, internal coaches somehow also compromise the earlier part that we were discussing, the
Yeah,
confidentiality thing.
that
Uh,
is exactly what I'm saying, that for example, you were the internal coach and I was the coachee, and Bakhtiar Saab was your line manager.
hmm,
So now you are in a very precarious position. And
hmm,
I also, I'm going to judge you before opening up to you, because I have seen you in a certain light. I have seen you in the organization. So yes, organization are having their HR people certified, but they're also cognizant of the fact that when it comes to the safe space, when it comes to vulnerability and, the sanctity of the process, yes, it is the external coach which always have an edge.
Great.
Absolutely. There are two things which I also want to point out. One is if the trained coach within the organization usually is not at a very senior position, then he will not be able to coach senior people
Yes.
because there is a difference, and the senior coaches will not have that much confidence in their ability. And then confidentiality, you have also already mentioned. It's a big thing within the organization. The thing gets out, so it's very difficult. Yeah.
So we are coming towards the end of the program. Before 7, we have to close it, but still there are lots of questions in my mind, and I think in our audience mind also. But we'll take just a couple of more questions, and the first question is basically which intrigues me all the time is the leadership. The leaders who are governing the organization, running the organization, they need a lot of coaching also. So, in your experience, have you seen them resisting more for their own coaching? What is your experience in coaching the leaders within the organizations? How do you assess them, and how do you approach them? And are they interested in coaching? Fakia?
I think that that's how the change always starts from the top. I mean, that's a very big kind of and very solid argument over there. And when you talk about executive coaching is anyways always for the top layer. When I'm working either with the C-suite, with the management committee, and or the minus one. So yes, I mean there is no point. See, the thing is that you make me, you coach me, and you enable me and help me to run. But then there are people who are sitting above me who've tied my feet. It is going to be frustrating. So I tell them, don't coach. It's okay. Let them be in their own world then. So yeah. One of the good things is, Umar, and there are these couple of organizations we are engaged with, and I always, when I go, I usually ask the senior person to get into the relationship. So there are a couple of CEOs who have asked for coaching for their mancom, but then they themselves have gotten the flavor of it. I mean, how can you talk about a dish if you haven't tasted it?
Don't you get a feedback from the leaders that we have already done a lot? Why do we need coaching? How do you?
I don't have to sell coaching.
Uh-huh.
The thing is that, I mean, if you have to sell it, then it means that then the idea is that the person is not ready for it.
Okay.
So you would talk about it. It should not be a hard sell. That either you ignite that spark or you move from there.
Bakhtiar sir, what do you think?
I have a slight difference of opinion here. When an
Sure.
organization draws you in, you tell them about what coaching is. You do some kind of a selling for coaching. Yeah, you're trying to bring them in the coaching fold because they're not aware. They want to find out. There are a lot of misconceptions also about coaching. So if you're doing clarifying the misconceptions, you're doing a great favor to the coaching profession.
Bakhtiar Sahab, you're right. What I'm saying is it's a hard sell. Of course, I mean, we all want business. We are doing a hard sell is where you're convincing. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's just one last big take from both of you on one very interesting subject. I mean, I think most of the coaches in Pakistan would like to listen to senior coaches talking about this. How do coaches in Pakistan, how should they place themselves or position themselves so that they could become uh, good coaches, one, and they could be hired by organizations to do the coaching? What is your message, perhaps, to the new coaches, emerging coaches, to position themselves? Kyunji Fakia, first you, and then Bakhtiar Sahab.
Umar, I think more than marketing, it's the confidence yourself. And I think so. What is very important is as a coach, you need to know if you're ready or you're not ready, because this is a very big stake and it's not easy. I remember initially when I started, and I'll share, the blunders which I have made. So initially when I started coaching, I remember when I came back, so ICF has these long list of, like quality questions and all that. So for me, one of the biggest challenge used to be, or challenge or focus, but I need to ask the right questions. And then I realized that in those conversations where I'm focusing on that, okay, what is the next question I'm going to ask? I'm actually disconnected. And then I learned it the hard way that the only thing I can do as a coach, if I'm immersed in the process, if I'm present in the process, the question will reveal itself. So I think so, number one, before we go on the marketing kind of thing, your confidence in terms of how ready you are. And number two, the humility in terms of that each interaction is going to leave you with something. So you being open to learn and keep evolving. Uh, it's not a teaching exercise. We are not like, I mean, I have to say it in Urdu, hum kisi ke ustad nahi hai. We ourselves are learning and exploring, ourselves as well, and in each interaction. And yes, when it comes to marketing, I think start with the peer coaching as well, and also start maybe with certain smaller organization, but go make a pitch over there, take on a couple of clients. And now even this entire exercise which we are doing over here. So I remember when I came back after my certification, and I had a good footprint in training at that time, but coaching no. So my biggest dream at that time was that how to land the first client, because after first client things becomes easier. And why would anybody give me, because I have zero experience, in terms of there are no hours I have on me. But then yes, I did a lot of coaching, with pro bono as well, with my people as well, which kind of gave me the confidence. And when you have that confidence and when you're having those conversations, that confidence reflect when you're sitting with the client. And
Exactly.
this is where
True.
I'm a seller. I do a lot of sales trainings. I believe in sales, but I believe that when you are good, hard sales sell is not required. Create that pull and it will come to you.
Mm. I
Yes.
agree with you 100%. I mean that's what at the start of the coaching you have to do. There is a question by Abdullah Harun, but Abdullah, I'll come to you. I mean, it's a very important question, but Bakhtiar Saab, your take on what I asked earlier, that how should the coaching professionals who are new to the coaching should position themselves? What is your message for
After I have done justice to this question, but let me add a couple of things. One is, as soon as possible, find your niche and get more and more experience and knowledge, and get more confidence in that niche. That's number one. Number two, when you get your first client, Fakir, when you did that, I'm sure you did that, then you think this is the only person in the world who is most important for me. Serve him so well that he brings in clients later on.
Say, yeah,
Yes.
that's great. Just before we close, there's a very important and good question, and I would like both of you to answer that. Abdullah Haroon is asking, as a psychology student, I wanted to ask, as a coach, do you provide coaching in behavior? If so, how is your role as a coach different from a therapist?
Hmm, hmm.
Ji.
I
Yeah,
think this is such a wonderful question, and it takes us back to the basics. Uh,
Yes.
so that
yeah.
is the
You,
first thing
you,
which
you
we
go
do, Abdullah,
first.
in the
Yeah.
pre-coaching meeting is to draw the difference between the therapy and counseling and coaching. So and that is extremely important. So I usually go with my grid, the difference between the mentoring and the counseling as well as the coaching as well. It's what is forward looking, what is past looking, what is more on how and what is more on why. So that is discussed at length, because a lot of time when people come to you, I remember one of the coaches once, he said after the first session, he said, I thought that I'm going to come and lie down on a couch. I said, no, this is not a therapy session. So you have to have this. These are the very basics which need to be clarified right in the beginning. Other part of your question is, do you work on behavior? What are we without our behavior? I mean, how are we as what is leadership?
Uh, uh,
Leadership is a very human breathing, like a person over there. So it's all about, for example, if it's my communication, if it's about my temperament, if it's about my resilience, this is all behavior.
uh, great, 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 great. Gee, quickly, Bakhtiar Saab, your on take on that. You are mute, sir. You are mute.
We know that the main difference between psychotherapy and coaching is that coaching is result oriented. We see where there are challenges. I mean, we assist the client in overcoming those challenges. And there, of course, we have to be mindful, Fakia, that the lines between coaching and therapy sometimes get blurred. There is a
Yes.
behavioral issue, and we believe as coaches we can help there. So we do help, and of course we are result oriented, and we do those exercises and so on. If that the negative behavior persists, then it is our duty to say sorry. After a few sessions, when we realize that the person is getting stuck somewhere, we apologize and we say you need another professional. And if they ask for address of a therapist, we provide that. We know therapists also.
Good
So
thing
there is an overlap,
of
Abdullah Arun. Yeah.
Can I just say something over here for Abdul?
very quickly,
Just 1 second, quickly.
yeah.
So there are times, Abdullah, where I have worked with certain coaches and they have been excellent. But at the same time, I realize that there are some, under the surface issues which they need to explore. And I always recommend them to have a session with the, couple of sessions and, take that burden off. Not that the both cannot go parallel, but yes, there are certain things which are there for the therapist. And this is again where the ethics come into play.
Yeah, exactly. And we can refer someone to the person who is a master in that, a therapist or a doctor or psychotherapist or whatever. There are two very
And
interesting
one more thing for Abdullah Arun.
yeah, there are two very interesting comments also by
Sorry,
Farhan.
let me just add,
Yeah.
Abdullah.
Yeah, very quickly, sir. Very quickly. We are just running out
And
of time.
Abdullah Arun, when you are coming from psychology or psychotherapy, you have a great advantage there because you'll understand the client better and you'll know which interventions will be more helpful. However, you might need to brush up your knowledge or gain knowledge in the area of business and corporate atmosphere. That's where you might be at a disadvantage.
And on this, Khadija is mentioning that therapy bring you from A minus to a zero, and coaching takes you from a zero to wherever you want to be. And that's a good comment. And
Very
Farhan
well said.
Khan is also commenting that yes, we need to promote the value and outcomes of coaching to more organizations so that they can achieve the results. Very well said. So thank you very much, everyone. And just to conclude, thank you both Fakia and Bakhtiar Saab for this lovely discussion. And just to take on from what Khadija was saying, that coaching takes you from zero to wherever you want to be. There is a very recent post by ICF, and what it mentioned is that it is pretty common that we ask most of the time what you have been doing lately. I mean, all the leaders ask, all the managers ask, or parents ask
Not hear you.
what you have been doing lately. But coaching reminds us of one very deep question, and that is, who are you becoming? So that's very important, in fact. So where you want to
Yeah.
be,
Who are
who
you
you are
becoming?
becoming, and that's what the coaching basically asks the question, and then it gets the answer from the one who is being asked. So thank you very much, all the audience who is there. There have been wonderful audience and asked some very good questions. And thank you once again, Fakiha and Bakhtiar Saab, for this lovely session.
Thank you, Umar, for organizing the whole thing, and thank you everyone. Nice participation.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone. So the
Thank you.
recording will be available soon
Pleasure.
on our YouTube channel also. So thank you very much. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.